love wiffle ball. No other way to explain it. Just something about the game. The feel of the grass. Smacking that ball all over the field. Making plays. Diving head first, whatever it takes to get the job done. That's what wiffle ball means to me. Striking out grown men. Watching their knees buckle on a called third strike. Sit out, bud. And then, of course, the home runs. The base hits. The big home runs at the big moments. That's a whiff of greatness. Join us all season long for the Joe Aguirre Story, a CMG podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Drawing About the G-Men, the Giants football podcast. I'm Big Jason, joined as always by Joe Aguirre, Sean Scanlon, and King Zay. We got a lot to talk about. There's a lot of big news going on, big moves being made already this offseason with this big signing as J.J. Watt signs with the Cardinals. Joe, how do you think J.J. Watt's going to fit in with that Cardinals defense?
Well, they need help, and he's better than what they have. So that I don't know that he's as hyped up as everybody's making him out to be right now. He had 5 sacks last year. It's only 5 more than you had, Jace. That's not a whole lot, is my point.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he helps. I certainly, if he wanted to go win a championship, I don't know that Arizona would have necessarily been my first choice. But I'm not advising the guy, so what do I know? But yeah, I mean, for all the hype that this thing was getting, you thought he was going to go somewhere where you're like, yeah, Super Bowl. And I'm not feeling it. I don't know that this makes the Cardinals significantly better than where they already need to get to consider them any sort of contender based off of this move.
I actually think this is pretty big because, I mean, look at what's going on. J.J. Watt's going from the AFC to the NFC. Look at what's happened the past couple years. The AFC's all about scoring points, and the NFC's about
defense. But Chase, if this was like 2016, then yeah, maybe you'd have something to talk about. The guy's been a little slow the last few years.
I understand that,
but don't see him. He's just not really an impact player anymore.
He's in the
not an impact guy anymore.
I understand that, but look at what happened. Look, a couple years ago when he had Jadeveon Clowney, he was still giving production, and now he's got Chandler Jones. So he's not a number one. He's not the guy on the offensive line.
Sure, look how well Jason Pierre-Paul played, yes. having other guys on a good defensive front. My point is the Cardinals. Did you think the Cardinals were one pass rusher away from a Super Bowl? Because I don't.
No, but look at what's happened in the past in the NFC. You can do that with it. If you have a solid defensive line, you can get to the Super Bowl. That's what's happened. And Kyler Murray is a good enough quarterback to where he can get a team.
I guess this is where we have a disagreement. I don't think Kyler Murray is near good enough to compete with the big boys yet. So if that's what your argument is, that this makes Kyler Murray a better player somehow, explain that. I'd love to hear it.
No, it doesn't. But I'm talking just strictly about the defense, and I like this move.
The defense off the field faster. There you go, Jace. I got you. Offense gets more attempts.
Again, if this was J.J. Watt from 2014, I'd be like, whoa!
No,
but
he's not that guy anymore, but he can still play. Like we saw a couple years ago when he had Jadeveon Clowney, he was still putting in. He had more sacks. He didn't have just 5. He was still getting pressure. I think he just needs that other guy, and I think this is what's going to make him really good. I think they are going to get into the playoffs this year because of it. Sean, are they a playoff contender with this?
I think they're a playoff contender. I think that they jump into maybe a wild card spot because they're still in probably the toughest division in football. I think the Rams, with getting Matthew Stafford, I think they're one of the NFC favorites. And then you also got, if Russell Wilson returns to the Seahawks, which I expect him to, they're going to be in the mix. And then obviously the Niners, who was in the Super Bowl last year, they had a bunch of injuries all year, and they're a tough team too. So I think it puts them into that playoff contention. But I agree with Joe. I don't think it's this huge splash move that's going to make him a Super Bowl contender. Obviously, it helps out that he gets Chandler Jones back from injury because Chandler Jones was out all last year. I think that obviously Chandler Jones is the best pass rusher on this team, and I think J.J. Watt will benefit from playing with a pass rusher like him. But I don't see it being going from 5 to 15 sacks. Maybe at best he gets a double-digit sack year. But I think it does impact the defense. But they are. There are some players that are hitting free agency, including Patrick Peterson, who's their best cornerback. He's pretty much the face of the Cardinals for the past 10 years along with Larry Fitzgerald. So, I mean, they have a lot of contracts. Hassan Reddick, another good pass rusher that, they have to re-sign. So there's some pieces that they got to bring back. And the offense, they have no run game, and Kenyon Drake is a free agent as well. So I think there's a lot of pieces that they got to bring back to get back there. But I do think they're in wild card contention, but I still think they're, a couple years away from that Super Bowl contention.
Zay, you want to finish this off with the trifecta?
I mean, what more can I say? I mean, unless J.J. Watt is going to go play offensive line, that team isn't winning a championship.
That's a good point.
Solid burn.
That team needs an offensive line. They didn't need a defensive lineman. I think they could have put the money elsewhere. But, I mean, if you think this makes them a little better, I guess it makes them a little better. But, I mean,
they needed to get a lot better, and they got a little bit better, so that helps. But you didn't even make the playoffs last year, so maybe this helps you make the playoffs. This doesn't beat Tom Brady. I know that.
Well, you would think, especially with the way that division is right now, completely falling apart between the 49ers not really getting it together and the Seattle Seahawks not sure who they're having at quarterback next year. You would think that they would go out and solidify that offensive line and at least give Kyler Murray a chance, but they didn't even do that. So good luck to them next year.
No, I don't think this is going to make the Cardinals all that great. I do like J.J. Watt. I do like how he's going to play. I think he's going to play very, very well with that defensive line. But
this will be an interesting pivot here in a minute. Ready? Watch.
No, what did you just argue for 30 minutes about? Like,
bro, no, Zay, wait. He's about to tell all three of us why we're wrong. That's okay. What you don't. He just agreed with us, and you're like, yeah. Now watch what he does. Go ahead.
What do you mean? No, I said that J.J. Watt was going to do really well on this defensive line. I like how he synergizes with Chandler Jones. That's all I said. And I
was this the best choice for J.J. Watt?
No.
I mean, look, who else? The Green Bay Packers.
Insane.
He's going to go from being just the guy on one defense to the guy on the other.
The Bills for all
I think the Browns would have made a lot of sense. He gets to go with Myles Garrett and Olivier Vernon. He wouldn't even be the number 2 option. He'd be the number 3. And I mean, it'd probably be for situational pass rush, but you could put him inside too. He could play that 3 technique as well. So I think that would be a ferocious D-line. I think Cleveland's like a couple pieces away from being a championship team. So I think that team would make the most sense. But there are other teams like the Bills and the Packers that I think definitely could have used him.
The Colts. I'm just throwing
names. He may as well have gone to the Steelers if he was going to sign with the Cardinals.
At least he could have finished it with his brother.
You're right.
Right. I mean,
both his brothers.
I think right. The Steelers have as good a chance of being in a Super Bowl next year as the Cardinals do, and it's slim and none. Yeah. So he might as well have just stuck it out with the brothers, and that could have been a lot of fun.
No, I think he did what Brady did. He's tired. He's old. He wants to go retire somewhere warm. No. I'm not saying he's going to go win a championship.
Bro, Tom Brady.
Tom
Brady found a team. Tom Brady found a team that had an historically bad quarterback and thought, I got everything else I need. And then they were like, oh, we'll go get Gronk, Fournette, and Antonio Brown, if you'd like. How's that sound? Big difference. This J.J. Watt to the Cardinals thing, you're living in some weird 2014 fantasy land where him and Chandler Jones are going to be like, the Sack Brothers or some new invention of the Sack term.
They're going to be the greatest D-line to ever exist. I'm not saying that.
They're not going to win the division. How's that?
They're not.
They're not going to win the division. So sing me a song.
They could still be fourth in the division. Like they might be the last place in that division. Because look at all the injuries that the 49ers had.
Yeah.
And they still did pretty decent.
I'm still not sure what your argument is.
No, I just like how he synergizes with the D line. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, he'll fit in great with those guys.
Yeah, and then you got my boy Leaky Fatu from Utah getting his first.
Oh, he wanted to talk
season.
about linemen. This is what it was. All this just so you could talk about a couple of linemen. Go tell us about the linemen and how synergized they're going to be.
I like that.
I know you do.
It's solid. Yeah, I think it's going to synergize well, solid chemistry, and I think we are going to see a little bit of a resurgence of J.J. Watt. It's going to be more than 5. I do like what Sean said, like 10 sacks. I think Chandler Jones is going to chip in a couple as well, and it's going to be a solid D-line.
Or he'll miss 9 games with an injury.
I'll give you 7.
They're not wrong with that.
At 7 at max. And like Joe said, the minute they start to lose games, he'll have a mysterious injury that'll keep him out for one of his 2-year contracts.
But then also with this Cardinals defense, another young guy, Isaiah Simmons, gets an offseason. He can really benefit, and he can hopefully make an impact.
Jace,
Jace.
Not the issue. The defense is not the issue here.
Right.
It's the offense. It's the line. It's the quarterback that can't see over the line. These are the issues with the team. Well, I think Kyler Murray is a good quarterback. I don't think he'll ever win. I honestly think he's too short to win it. I'm just so sorry.
I agree with that very much. That's the problem.
There are times you watch him throw the route instead of throwing the receiver. You'll see it all the time because he can't necessarily see down the field, but he'll throw the route. And sometimes it'll get picked. He is not the guy for them to win it all. I'm sorry. It'd make a great story, but it's not going to happen. This is the NFL. This is not Disney. It's not going to happen.
I think, if anything, the problem with the offense is Kingsbury. But Watt's best team to go to would have been Cleveland. Yeah, he didn't have to be the main guy on the defense. Could have gotten paid and contended without having to play every down. With his injuries, he's no longer an every down D. You're
Carly
right.
Boy, why don't you try to keep these to like 1 or 2 thoughts at a clip?
Yeah, we're sports guys.
That's pretty in depth. Nobody wants to hear Jace reading. That's not.
I like the analysis.
Piss off.
Great analysis, but just bullet point us. That's what we're looking for here.
Yeah.
Jace, listen. No one's saying the Cardinals' defense isn't great, and great.
Well,
now I'm overstating. That's not the problem there.
No.
And Zay nailed it. I mean, again, I like Kyler Murray. He seems like a swell fella, but he doesn't hold a candle to any of these guys right now. And I don't know what Cliff Kingsbury's got cooked up his sleeve, but it's going to take a lot there in Arizona for this team to really be competitive.
No, I get that. But I disagree with the Kyler Murray. I think he's good enough.
Yeah, so do I.
I just think it might be. What?
20 years ago, maybe. I would have given 20 years ago. He would have had a chance.
No, I think nowadays the shorter QBs have more of a chance.
Yeah.
Back in the day,
especially with his mobility too.
Yeah.
I think the defensive players in back in the day were less athletic than they were today.
Well, I'll tell you too. Kyler Murray, is to me. There's if Lamar Jackson's a 99, Kyler Murray's like an 87, and I'm sorry to say, but in 2021, an 87 is you might as well be an 82. You know what I mean?
83. He's like an 83. He's like an Alex
It's
Smith.
no good. It's not good enough, dude. It just isn't good enough. I'm sorry to say. Look, there's a reason why we're seeing all these quarterbacks moving teams. When you look at for 2021, 2022, at least, you have to figure I have to beat Brady or Mahomes if I'm anybody else. Is my quarterback good enough? The Rams were like, Goff's not. Eagles, nope. Looking at Hurts, maybe not. We'll let you know in a month. There's a lot of teams moving away from quarterbacks because the only way you can win a Super Bowl is if you can beat Brady and Mahomes. Josh Allen can't do it. Aaron Rodgers couldn't do it. Lamar Jackson couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And those are good quarterbacks.
It's 1 year, though. They're going to have more chances to beat them.
There's elite quarterbacks in the league. And Kyler Murray's on my fantasy team, bro. Believe me. He puts up some good numbers. They don't win enough games. He's very Justin Herbert in that, where the fantasy numbers are
years ago,
amazing.
Garoppolo took the Niners. We led by that defense.
Honestly, Garoppolo's a better quarterback. Honestly, I'd hate to say it. Kyler Murray's more athletic.
That's wild.
Yeah, that's a little crazy.
All right.
I don't. Well, Zay, I'm with you. The ball out of Kyler Murray's hand is horrible. He doesn't throw like a quarterback.
What?
He's a baseball player. He's a baseball tosser. He's not a good quarterback. He's not as athletic in being creative with plays. He just doesn't.
That's his bread and butter, is creating plays outside of the pocket. His athleticism is out of this world. I agree. I agree that he's not.
Bro, he's a solid B plus.
B plus. We have to remember he's also going into his third year. He's still a super young quarterback. I mean, he's still got a long career ahead of him. Bro, and I agree that he's not elite level yet, but I mean he's just outside that top 10. I think you guys are being a little disrespectful.
Pat Mahomes is winning in his second and third. He's getting to the. How is
Pat
he?
Mahomes, you can't compare him to Pat Mahomes. Pat Mahomes is like Pat Mahomes is like no other quarterback we've ever seen.
Right, but that's my point, guys.
I think if you take away some of those weapons and they showed in the Super Bowl when his weapons didn't show up, he's pretty human.
Look, you have to be able to beat.
He's also injured.
You have to be able to beat one of those guys. Your quarterback has to be good enough. Yeah. What does Arizona? I mean, right? Drake is a free agent, and he's not that good.
Yeah.
So
I'm not saying the Cardinals are at Super Bowl. I just said it before. I don't think they're at a Super Bowl level yet. But I mean, to say that Kyler Murray is a bad quarterback, I just think that was.
No one said he's a bad quarterback.
You said he was a bad quarterback.
He's not elite. He's a good.
I just said he's a B plus quarterback.
You said he was a bad quarterback before. You could roll back the tape.
He said he's good.
I didn't say he's a bad quarterback.
I'll send you a video after this.
All right.
Jason Garoppolo is bad, but whatever. I guess.
I Garoppolo was never available.
You're right. Now let's talk to a definitive good quarterback, Russell Wilson, staying in the NFC West. Now, I mean, there's been a lot of talk about Russell Wilson possibly getting traded. His agent came out and said the 4 teams he would want to go to are the Saints, Cowboys, Raiders, and Bears. So I honestly don't see him getting traded, but I mean, with the addition of JJ Watt in that division, and you have a struggling O-line, in my opinion, this is the worst O-line in the league. Russell Wilson makes them look a little bit better because he's so mobile and because he can make plays and extend plays. But I think if I'm Russell Wilson, I want to get out. He has not formally made that trade request, but
what?
He's going to be running all over the field.
Chase, you think
6 games a year?
You think he woke up that morning and said, "Oh no, JJ Watt is on the Cardinals. I'm screwed." You think that's the first thing?
No, because the trade talks happened before.
Yeah. You honestly think that's the first thing
he came up
in his mind
during the offseason and said he has problems with the offensive line. So
we are aware of that. But if you think JJ Watt is the reason he wants out, it's not
the sole reason, but it definitely is going to have to factor into it.
For what? Why would you? I
agree with Ovi. He's not going to get traded, but
why would you want to trade out of the probably the worst division in football? Probably going to be next year, aside from the NFC East. Why would you want to?
Are you kidding me?
You think the NFC West is the worst division of football?
I don't think they're going to be as good as they were. I don't. I really don't. I don't see it. I'm sorry.
That's a take.
I think I watched them this year, and I didn't think the Seahawks really impressed me much. We don't know what we're going to get with the Rams. They got a completely new quarterback next year.
Down the stretch, all of those teams played like garbage, except for the 49ers, who actually played better with their B team than they did with their A team. So
the Rams
I don't think Spain's completely off on this. Again, dude, it's I mean, other than the Rams, I don't really think anybody played long stretches of good football sans the beginning of Seattle seasons, when again, after week 6, everybody's like, Russell's the MVP. And then week 12, they're like, Russell's the MVP. And it's like, no, he's not. You've been paying attention. And by the end of the season, thankfully, people stopped the nonsense. So they didn't play well. The Rams didn't play great. Obviously, the Rams blowing things up. Arizona didn't play well. Arizona had a couple of big games down the stretch for the wild card that they lost. So,
big games. They should have lost to the Giants, honestly.
Yeah, but they didn't. I mean, the Rams had the best defense in football last year. I mean, their passing defense is phenomenal, and they just improved that quarterback tremendously. And they'll get their Cooper Kupp was hurt for most of the year last year.
Woodward's got injured.
I think Matt Stafford is a very big upgrade over Jared Goff.
How many Super Bowls has Matt Stafford played in?
He's been on the Lions. The Lions are the worst.
How many has Goff played? I don't care. Were the Rams a top team when Goff got there? No. They weren't the best team in football.
They also had Aaron Donald, and they got Jalen Ramsey along the way.
Luck of the draw. That's just how it works sometimes.
Well, sure. I mean, right.
You're going to get mad at them for building a team?
That's what everybody does.
Build a team. Even when Detroit was good, they had Megatron for years. They didn't do anything.
Because
I'm old enough to remember Barry Sanders and what they didn't do with that either.
They run everyone out of town because no one wants to play for the Lions.
They had the best receiver in football and didn't even make the playoffs those years. And
I don't listen to assume Matt Stafford's a slam dunk in with the Rams. I don't. I think it's definitely put it like this: how much of an upgrade over Goff is that? Because a year ago, we still thought Goff was an elite quarterback. So
no, I never thought Jared Goff was an elite quarterback.
He's gotten to the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You can get mad at him. Kyler Murray has.
But again, see, look, at the end of the day, they know full well Jared Goff isn't good enough to win a Super Bowl. That's why they moved on from him. Whether Matthew Stafford is or not remains to be seen. But again, this is why I'm saying you have to really evaluate your quarterback and decide, what is my team? Again, going back to Arizona. Well, that offense runs through Kyler. I think he's a B-plus quarterback. Therefore, I think that's a problem to winning. See, I like Daniel Jones with the Giants because he's not the center of the offense. If you said they were running everything through Daniel Jones and not Saquon, I'd be like, please draft a quarterback this year. So that's where we're at. Everybody's situation's a little bit different. Kudos to the Rams. I mean, again, they were like, Goff's not good enough. He got there, played like crap. That's what happened. Is he going to beat Tom Brady to get to a Super Bowl? No. So let's get somebody better. Let's get a guy that can come up big. That's where everybody's mind is at right now. Plain and simple.
I'm not a Kingsbury fan, just like you. I completely agree. But I do think Kyler Murray is holding that offense back. I believe if they had a bigger quarterback like a Justin Fields, I think that offense would move a lot smoother. I'm just saying, just throwing it out there. I'm not saying they should draft him. But I think if they had a quarterback like a Justin Fields instead of a Kyler Murray, that'd be a way better offense. Just putting it out there. It's just me.
That's interesting.
No, that said, I think could Kyler have a great year? Yeah, sure. Can he exceed expectations? Sure. He certainly didn't play as well this year as he did last year. So I thought there was a little regression there. And again, when there were big games to win, he didn't win them. And I don't like that. I like my quarterbacks to go out and win.
He won a big game
regular season.
Yeah, but it takes more than one big game. It's
that was one
season.
play.
He had 20 20 seconds to go down the field, and they did it. That's a big game, and that's in a big moment.
Yeah,
Dude,
that's
he was
great.
riding
Against the
high.
Bills, that was the only game they lost over the second half of the season.
No.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
all right.
big time game.
I'm convinced Kyler
There was
Murray's
a
the best.
stumble for the Bills. Okay, and
On that one,
I'm not
that
saying
one good game, that one time. Yes.
you said
believe-
he didn't perform in
Hold
big
on.
games, and I just gave you a big game. That's all I'm saying. Like,
Well, they didn't make the
believe the
playoffs.
Bills-
So was it a big game or not?
I believe they
yes,
played the
it was a
Steelers
big game.
right before that in a crazy schedule. I believe they played the Steelers, and I think they had like the 10 games in like 2 weeks or something. I mean, 2 games in 10 days stretch or something like that. I think it was part of that. I'm not sure, but
I didn't know you liked Kyler Murray so much. I wouldn't even have brought it up.
I don't. I'm just. You guys are saying that. You said he's a. I mean, I agree that he's probably a B+ quarterback, but you guys are, and Zay saying that he'd rather have Justin Fields in there and that he can't run the offense. Like, I don't know. I think Kyler Murray is just outside of the top 10. I think he's very close to being an elite quarterback, and it's going to help with the second year with DeAndre Hopkins. I think he's just going to get better.
I think he should be playing shortstop somewhere.
Maybe so. He was a hell of a baseball player.
I don't think Kyler Murray's the problem with that offense. I think it's Kingsbury. I think Kingsbury he's more of a coordinator in the NFL than he is. He got fired from Texas Tech and then got hired by the Cardinals.
Well, that was stupid of the Cardinals then, wasn't it?
He's not a solid head coach. I think he would be a great OC, but he's not a head coach. And I think that's really the problem.
Because I noticed before, Trevor Keys always goes back to Andy Reid. Like, I mean, Bruce Arians. What I don't understand what the difference is. Yeah. I'll be quite honest. Again, understand that Pat Mahomes was the number 10 pick on a team that was in the NFC Championship game. So he was already kind of set when he got there. Super talented kid. They've got guts, man. They take chances and they play loose. That's why they're so good. But again, we're at the point now where your quarterback has to be better than Mahomes. And I love Lamar Jackson. How many times is he going to lose to Pat Mahomes before the Baltimore has to legitimately be like, he's not good enough? I'm not saying that. Listen, Sean, I'm not saying that Lamar ain't going to beat him next year. Maybe he finally will.
No, I'm just saying nobody's better than Mahomes. How can you expect your quarterback to be?
I didn't say better.
Lamar's never played.
The word I said was you have to beat Mahomes. You have to be able to beat these guys.
Well, that's on the defense. I mean,
you don't have to be better to beat him. You got to be good enough. You just got to be good enough in the team. That's simple as it is. You just got to be good enough that day. That's what Brady was. Brady was just good enough. He might not have been better than Mahomes. He might have more hardware than him, but he's not a physically more gifted quarterback than Mahomes, but he was better than him that day. That's all you got to do is be better that day. And Lamar Jackson has been better any day, whether it's against him or the Bills. He just can't find a way to stop stumbling.
They never made the AFC Championship.
Who? The NFC Championship.
The Chiefs.
Oh, the Chiefs.
Without
Patrick Mahomes has never beat Lamar Jackson in the playoffs because they haven't played in the playoffs. But with that being
said, that's why I said the Bills. Whoever said Mahomes, I was just going off of that, but I said the Bills. The Bills, potentially whatever.
All right. It would not be drawing about the G-Men if we did not talk about the Giants. So I thought the past couple weeks we've been kicking it back with we've been going down throwback lane. Now let's take a look at the present. And we've talked about a lot of big moves. If you were in the front office for the Giants, what is one big offseason move that you would make right now? We'll start with you, Joe.
Leonard Williams. That's got to happen. Just get that done. That defense would be not anywhere near as good without him. That's the most obvious slam dunk move I think Dave Gettleman has this offseason. If he does nothing but that would be, bringing back this defense and improving on it where you can is the plan. Again, we know we need some playmakers on offense. I think it's pretty obvious what needs to be done, but to me, Leonard Williams, and I know the big guy's talking like he wants to get some DN money instead of D tackle money, but got to happen.
I think he might get the tag, the franchise tag, but we will see. That's coming up.
I don't think so.
It would be expensive.
I think he
All
earned it. Yeah, I agree.
We'll see. But Sean, what move you making?
Yeah, I mean, I think, Leonard Williams and Dalvin Tomlinson, I think those are both huge, pieces to the D-line. So I definitely agree that we got to bring them back. But, if we were talking about, I think we need to make some cuts to open up some cap space. So I think players I think Golden Tate's got to be out of here. Obviously, just very unimpressive in his 2 years here so far. It was a contract that, I was really questioning at the time it happened and still to this day. I mean, so I think he's got to be gone. Nate Solder would be another cut that I think that we have to make. Obviously, if our two tackles for the future, obviously if they pan out, is going to be Andrew Thomas and Matt Pert. So I think we got to let them develop. I think, we got to get a veteran to come in to maybe be a swing tackle in case Pert isn't ready right away this year. But I think Solder's contract is so big. I think that would be huge for the cap savings. We're going to have some dead money if we cut him, but I will get a lot more cap money back. So because I think we need to go out and spend this year. Obviously, like Joe said, we need an offensive weapon. We need a number one receiver. We still need a edge rusher. So I think to free up some money to make some of those moves, we're going to have to cut some players like that. And I've heard a lot of Kevin Zeitler being cut, but I wouldn't want to do that because I don't have trust in Shane Lemieux and Will Hernandez yet. Will Hernandez obviously had a rough year last year, and Lemieux started off strong, but he really struggled in the pass protection. So I think, two cuts that we got to make is Golden Tate and Nate Solder to open up some money to make those moves. But, yeah, what do you think, Zay?
Well, I mean, you guys covered most of it, but I think most importantly, I agree. I think we need to move players. I would love to move Evan Ingram. Hopefully we could package that with number 11 pick and move up, and then maybe we could get one of those top receivers in the draft. That would be my hopes. Because I'm to the point where I believe Evan Ingram isn't going to develop to the play they believe he's going to be. Yeah, too many times I watch on the field where it's just not an issue of catching the ball. He just looks like he's scared to get hit, and he doesn't make the same attempt for the ball. So I think it's time that we move past him and move on. And I think the Giants also need to find a solid backup for Saquon Barkley. You don't know what you're going to get next year with Saquon Barkley, and I'm not really too sure on Wayne Gallman. His running style is it's funny. I'm not sure if that's a long-term run style for the running back, but I do believe they need a backup running back, someone they could put in there, and the person who could pick up blocks. We could catch out the backfield, something like that to complement Saquon Barkley, who right away might not be able to pick up those blocks because, coming off injury, and it wasn't his strong suit before. But Joe looks like he wants to say something.
Well, I've seen some amazing fantasy drafts where Najee Harris falls to the Giants in like the 4th round and nonsense like that. No, I don't understand why people feel the need to do a mock draft and then share it. That's the stupidest thing in the world. Please stop doing that, everybody. Nobody cares what you know what I mean.
So I told you.
I traded my 3 cents. Shut up. What are you even talking about? No, stop it. Nobody cares. You have no idea what's going to happen between now and April.
You're right.
No idea, dude. There's so many other moves that are still going to happen. So take a chill pill. Watch some Netflix. There's other things to do right now. You know what I mean? Watch boxing. It's great.
Yeah, big UFC fight coming up.
There you go.
We'll be talking about that on Saturday.
A lot of good fights coming up. Stop with the mock drafts, though, people. Please. Please. And also, I'll tell you what. I see Mac Jones is like in the top 10. They're saying maybe he's got a ceiling of pick 8. And is still being described as unspectacular.
That's crazy.
I mean, completing 77% of your passes for like the all-time record at Alabama and the all-time touchdowns is unspectacular. Dude, I know ESPN missed the boat on Mac Jones, and they will fight for dear life for this guy to not be successful because it'll show how bull they are. But there you go. Unspectacular, and he's going to go in the top 8.
Is that why you hate mock drafts? Because your boy's getting disrespected?
Dude, my boy's flying up the board. Flying up the board right now.
Chris Sims got Zach Wilson going first.
I saw that ranking. That was crazy.
I was like, behind Trevor Lawrence? That's
wild.
Yeah, Justin Fields at like number 5 too, I think.
Yeah, and then behind Trey Lance, who really didn't have a season this year. So
Yeah.
We don't know what to make of that, but
listen, while we're talking about this,
I don't believe in the Bisons. I think Carson Wentz is still a terrible quarterback, and I'll continue to always say that.
If the Giants were to cut Zeitler and their main draft target be a guard, because I think the depth in this for the first round talent at guard is really, really good this year. So you cut Zeitler, you can trade back that pick and get a Vera Tucker from USC or Rashawn Slater from Northwestern, who are both very solid guards, even like a Trey Smith, really solid.
Or Wyatt Davis, too.
Yeah, Wyatt Davis.
So trade back away from the more elite talent to mediocre talent, because that's worked so well the last few years.
No, and then
I like that. Yeah, great game plan.
Like an
somebody get Gettleman on the phone.
So what do you do with Gettleman? What do you do with Will Hernandez and LeMahieu? What do you do with these guys? We just kicking them to the curb now? The guys we just drafted last year?
Well, Will Hernandez, he's going into his third year.
Well, I'm talking about Shane LeMahieu was drafted last year, and
right.
And so was Pert. There's
Matt Pert.
What are we doing? I'm so confused.
Develop him. That's going to be the O-line of the future.
So why trade back when we need a receiver?
You have LeMahieu.
When we need a pass rusher.
So you want to build more depth on the offensive line. You want to draft another rookie to develop that rookie behind the second-year guys you're going to have next year?
Great. Saquon Barkley. He will only be
I'm curious what you want to do with this stable of guards. Are we going to rotate them in and out? Are we going to go to just a strict run game, or what?
Lemieux played center in a little bit in college too.
Great, let him play center then. Well, I don't know.
You got a young core right there.
No, I like Nick Gates. I understand that move. If it's like a second or third round pick, but I wouldn't want to trade back that number 11 pick. But I do think we could use some depth at the interior O-line for sure. But I don't think it would be a good choice to be in the first. I think we have too many needs to go out and do that.
Maybe if you could trade Evan Ingram and get like an O lineman in the second round or late first round, maybe. I don't know, but I don't know.
Can we stop that nonsense too? Evan Ingram is not.
He's got dolphin flippers.
He's going by 2020. He's the reason why 2020 turned out as bad as it did. The Giants could have made the playoffs.
Yes.
Twice he screwed the pooch. Twice. Jesus.
Is they wrong, Joe?
Yes.
What?
I don't know. He could be traded. I wouldn't be surprised.
No.
He was a Pro Bowler.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I'm telling you right now, I don't know how many Pro Bowlers have been traded in the offseason, but look, he had some big drops.
Yeah.
He also made a lot of catches. I mean, again,
because he was targeted so many times.
Whoa. Evan Ingram is my Gary Sanchez. All right, listen. Here's what I'm saying.
Here we go.
Oh, God.
This guy is top talent. His peers obviously recognized him as a Pro Bowler. Well-deserved.
With 63 receptions on one touchdown.
It could be better. God. It could be better.
Should be better.
Got to be better. It's got to be better. But he's a Pro Bowler, so...
He did not deserve that Pro Bowl.
Come on.
Definitely not a whiff of greatness.
There's
right there.
I'm telling you, he's going to be just fine. Look, by the way, here's the other thing. Daniel Jones likes throwing to Evan Ingram, even though Evan Ingram drops a lot of balls. He didn't drop any more than any of the top receivers in football this year, just for the record. But
that's because they didn't.
Because he's a tight end.
Go look it up.
That's why.
Go look it up. The problem is
10 plus. That's a lot.
Hold on, Sean. Listen, we can cite exactly the moment where the Giants lost the game off of Evan Ingram's fingertips.
Yes.
The impact of that is emotional, and it is difficult to swallow. Those two wins are the difference between the Giants winning the division this year and sitting home. Evan Engram is a super talented kid. He's one of the top tight ends in the league, bottom line. That's got to stop. He's going to play again this year. If that stuff continues, then you just let him walk and you move on from it. And you listen, to have drafted a guy in the first round, get 6 years, productive years out of him. He's a Pro Bowler. What more could you possibly want? I can tell you.
What?
Not drop big. I understand that.
63 receptions.
But he's very productive.
Well, 3 touchdowns or whatever the hell it was.
1 touchdown.
Oh, it was 1? It was 1?
Yeah.
Just the one.
He had one more than all of us. He had one more touchdown than all of us, and he had 63 attempts.
Yeah, and Robert Tonyan on the Packers had 10 touchdowns and more catches and more receiving yards, and he didn't make the Pro Bowl.
Listen.
So Evan Engram did not deserve it.
That upsets me greatly. But as his peers analyze him, they didn't hold the touchdowns against him. They were like, Evan Engram is one of the best in the league. He should be in the Pro Bowl.
He's fast and he gets separation, and then when the ball is thrown to him, he doesn't catch it. He's a great athlete for sure, but he's not a good tight end. He can't block either.
Right.
By week 4 next
so
week,
the only reason I think he could be traded is because they gave him the 5th-year option, so he's got 1 more year in his rookie contract, and some crazy team might think that he might be of value just because he's on that cheap contract. So
it'll be New England, and he'll have like 130 catches and 15 touchdowns.
No, that wouldn't surprise me.
It'll be the Saints.
Would you take
Kyle James win a Super Bowl?
Evan Engram?
If we trade Evan Engram, I would be all over Kyle Pitts. I would love that.
My concern about Pitts is he gets injured a lot. Which again, I think when you play the position like Pitts and Ingram do, I think you're more likely to get hurt. I just think being look at Aaron Judge to make another Yankee reference on this show.
Stop with the Yankees.
I know Sean hates it so much, but
I hate
yeah. I just think when you're like a freak size athlete, I think you just suffer weird injuries, and they're especially guys that of that build and athleticism. They just, I don't know. That's my concern. Are you trading in an Evan Engram for maybe a slightly more athletic Evan Engram, who I think brings some of the same issues?
No, that's not true. They're comparing him more to a Travis Kelce type. If he's a Travis Kelce type, then you've got to be all over that, because Travis Kelce is definitely the difference maker there in Cleveland. With the receivers ain't getting separation, he's getting separation. Yes, obviously he's not the fastest player on the team. Yes, Sean, don't make the face.
I don't like Florida.
No, it's not the face because you said Cleveland.
I'm sorry.
I don't disagree with what you're
Chiefs.
saying.
I'm sorry. I meant the Chiefs. Yeah.
I don't like Florida. I think Florida is trash. I think Florida used to be a great program. I think it's in the trash dump right now. I think it's really sad.
You hate Dan Mullen.
Yeah, you hate Dan Mullen.
I think Dan Mullins is an idiot, and so I wonder about everybody on that team, including Kyle Pitts. So, hopefully they fire him. They restored the great program at Florida. But that said, I still don't know. Again, I think this is one of those things where, is this an upgrade? Is Pitts that much of an upgrade? Pitts is going to drop a couple big balls, and you guys are going to be like, he sucks. What a loser. Well, he's a wide receiver masquerading as a tight end. That's what both of these guys are doing.
What big balls did he drop in Florida, though?
What big balls did he drop in Florida? Yeah. I don't know. His own. I don't.
We should be going on that.
I don't know.
Ingram's had dolphin flippers for hands.
He didn't beat Alabama twice. I know that. So
nobody beat Alabama.
There you go. How great is Kyle Pitts?
I
like my tight ends that win games.
All right.
Evan Engram hasn't won anything.
It's not. But
solid.
We can continue.
Unfortunately,
it's Kyler Murray. Continue. Let's go, because you want to talk about people.
Okay. No, we'll continue this college football debate on all 4 downs later tonight. But I think that's going to do it for myself, Joe, Zay, and Sean. Thank you guys for watching and listening. That's Drawing About the G-Men, and we'll see you next week.